What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Yield Today with Dallin Candland, the show that helps you build your self care perspectives on life while potentially building a business as well. Today, we're going to be talking about three different questions I wanted to ask you and that I've been trying to ask myself to give us some perspective for living our best lives, to help us to continually grow and to make improvements. We're going to be talking about the people, opportunities, and time categories today. The questions are the following. One, for time, and am I making it my ally or my friend? It's the same thing. Am I making it my ally or my enemy? With opportunities, am I adding fire and focus to the best opportunities in my life? And with people, am I looking beyond the label? We're going to be talking about each of these, and it should be a really good time. I really appreciate all the support you've given the podcast, and I hope that it's beneficial for you. Definitely follow the podcast for more good stuff, and let's just jump right into it. So with time it's really cool because we get all this time we get to use however we would like, and we're not sure how much we will have. That's the kind of crazy part about it. But every single day there's like 86,000 seconds in a day, so you could say like it's like somebody's giving you $86,000 and you get to spend it however you want. Sure, there's different obligations you have and you need to spend your time with that, but a lot of it is your free time or time that you have more leverage over. And the time that we generally have the best leverage and control over is how we start our day and how we end our day. And so these are the times I've been really trying to make better in my life. I've been trying to make time my ally and not my enemy. When time is my ally is when I have like time set up, and then it's like, okay, that is when that's going to happen and I don't have to say anything. It's like I'm meeting up with the actual person and saying, okay, I'm going to get this thing done now. When time is my enemy is when I have class assignments coming up, I have work coming up, and I am just a mess. And I have a lot of obligations and not enough time to get it all done. So the question again is, am I making time my ally or my enemy? With people, it's really interesting. The second thing is people. I want to tell you a really fast story. Today, I was about to go on a run, and I was walking, and I saw some guys digging a hole, and they're dressed in work clothes. And my first initial reaction was, "Oh, yeah, I should just kind of." Well, my first, that's interesting. I should go talk to them. And then I walked away. And then I realized I'm going to be recording a podcast episode about this very thing. So I like, you need to go back down and at least talk to them for a couple minutes. Had a really good talk. Turned out they were digging for Google Fiber so they could put better internet around here, which is really awesome. And I talked with one of the guys. I talked with all of them, actually. Well, a lot of them. And I don't know how many there were, but I talked with 5 or 6 of them. And one of them, his name was Ray. He said he'd maybe check out the podcast. So shout out to Ray if he's listening. Hope you had a good rest of your day. But the real lesson here is that in the moment, I was able to look beyond the label. I was able to look beyond the work clothes and anything else that might have been there. And remember that there's a person. There is a ton of potential in every single person. And you're choosing to look at that. And we're not looking at the label. With labels, there's generally really high. There's generally like a range. Okay, like with the garbage man, for example. This is the best garbage man, this is the worst garbage man. And it's super flawed because Larry Bird was a garbage man. And nobody thinks of him as a garbage man. He was an NBA legend, is an NBA legend. But there was a time where he was a garbage man. And that has nothing to do with his character and with who he ended up becoming. I was a basketball manager and was the water boy and the video guy and would wash towels in high school, to help out my school and the team. That has absolutely nothing to do. It's actually blessed my life more than anything. It taught me a lot of humility. And now working at a Pizza Hut, being a delivery driver, I mean, some people can look down on that. I love it. And I see it as a step forward and not a step backward. So when you're able to look beyond the label at yourself and with other people, you're able to take a bigger step forward and have a little bit more patience and faith with others and with yourself. So that question again is, am I looking beyond the label with the people I talk to? And finally, with opportunities, am I adding fire to the opportunities that will help me the most in my life? And there's a lot of stuff we could go into with this because I've thought way too much about this. We're going to make this really quick. Today, I want you to think of a campfire that is roaring, that is hot, that is providing a lot of warmth to people. For that campfire to have come into fruition, there was a couple things that happened. Action, kindling, some kind of fire starter of some kind, and then there was pretty good conditions to make it happen, right? So when I go and talk to people, I try to find people in their just normal state, and I just like to talk with them. But sometimes they're studying and the conditions are not super great, but sometimes they'll be able to stop it and we can have this little fire come together. Like, hey, let's talk about life. Let's talk about things we're learning. And it's really cool. It's really neat. And I love those experiences and opportunities. However, there are times when people are not as open to it, and or maybe they were for a time, but you waited so long that now they're somewhere else. And to go and talk to them and try to strike up this conversation, this fire of conversation, is really difficult. And so this is something I've been trying to get better at my whole life, is seizing the moment when it's there and not expecting those moments to happen again, but just remembering like life is unpredictable. Anything can happen. I've talked with people before and then they've been on a phone, got in a phone call and they've left. And I'm like, shoot, I should have talked to them when I had the chance. And this goes along with business, along with all kinds of things. And it's super easy to use our energy, use our fire, use our action, use our time, which are all sources of fuel, to, start up fires that maybe aren't going to help us or be very beneficial, or maybe are just smoke. There's a lot of fires that are like that. And I've been guilty of, investing in my time in things that were not very beneficial. They were more of a waste of time. But lately I've been trying to prioritize putting out podcast episodes over social media, trying to create something that's going to last over things that are generally going to be glossed over in a couple months. I've been really trying to be ready to strike up a conversation or to help out somebody else. I've always tried to have that fire starter help with me, whether it's a scripture, whether it's a gift of encouragement or whatever, and try to give from the heart too. Because if the kindling is wet, you could think of it as trying to come into a conversation and just not really meaning it. It's not really going to go anywhere, in my opinion. And you can't just drop like 50 logs and be like, okay, let's have a great conversation. It starts a really small kindling that grows and it builds. And that's the concept with the best opportunities and the best everything, really, is it takes time, it takes patience, and it takes that real intent. So with this, I wanted to ask you, am I adding attention and focus to the very best opportunities in my life? Or am I creating opportunities, right? Am I going out and about? Am I trying to create opportunities and making the most of the resources that I have to create these fires of value, compassion, etc. for other people? So I hope this episode was helpful for you guys. Thank you so much for listening. We could dive more into this, but I try to keep these episodes around 7 to 10 minutes long. Every Thursday, I'll just dig into some things that are on my mind at the time that I thought would be beneficial and helpful for you guys, the college students who may be trying to start a business, working on your self-care, wanting to make the most of this precious time, and anybody else that might be listening. I really hope that this has been beneficial for you. Again, really fast, those 3 questions you can ask yourself. So with time, am I making it my ally or my enemy? With opportunities, am I adding fire and focus and attention to the best opportunities in my life? And with people, am I looking beyond the label? Thank you so much for listening. We're going to be having a bunch of episodes coming next week. It's my birthday week and a lot of other good stuff. So definitely follow the podcast, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to yield today, and it will be a better tomorrow. Feel free to check out the podcast on Yield to. If you'd like to get in touch with me, hit me up at. If you'd like to get in touch with me, feel free. My Instagram's a pretty good way. At DreamChaserDallin is my personal account, and at Yield to Dave Dallin Podcast is the podcast account. So a lot of good stuff coming up on those. We're just learning, we're just figuring it out, and we're having a good time. So I hope this was helpful for you. Thanks for being on this journey with me. Gangster!